He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is, Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today I'm with Coach Chad Alligood, the athletic director at Jones County High School. Coach, thanks for being on with us.
I appreciate you having me, Coach.
We tried to do this before, but I had some major technical difficulties. So after chasing down Coach with all the basketball playoffs and everything else going on, we finally got our schedules back together, and clinics and everything else. So glad we were able to get it squared away.
The second time will be the charm.
Got to be, because there can't be a third time. You'll fire me for that. So, Coach, when you first got into coaching, where did you begin your career at?
I had the sweetest gig going. I started my career at John Miller's Academy in 1995 and worked out a sweet gig. They paid for my college as long as I coached there. So I was coaching every day of the year. And but good place to get my feet wet. And I was there from 95 to 98. And then I had the great fortune of getting on at Northside High School in Warner Robins. My high school football coach, Ricky Smith, was a position coach at Northside, and I had an opening come up mid-year, and he called me and interviewed with Coach Nix, and I interviewed on a Friday and started on that Monday. And so that really propelled my career. And I was at Northside from 99 to 04. And then like all of us, I thought I could do things and go be a coordinator, and young and dumb. And it's probably the best and worst thing I did in my career. I left Northside and went to Wilkes County back home for a year and coached there. And then after that year in 6, 7, and 8, I go to Perry to be the offensive coordinator, which was a great experience. Worked for Andy Scott those 3 years, and you've had him on your podcast, and learned a lot of ball and learned how to coach a lot there, being first-time coordinator. And then after that year, I go and spend a year at FPD with a great friend of mine, Greg Moore's the OC there at FPD in Macon. And I always say that year right there reset my career. I was all about Chad, chasing jobs. And the good Lord said, how about you just rely on me for a little bit? And that's what I learned that year. And the following year, 2010, Coach Nix retires at Northside. Coach Kinsler gets a job, and I had a good fortune to come back to Northside as the offense coordinator. And we had some good teams and some good runs, and was lucky to win one in 2014. And was the offense coordinator till 2017, and I left to go be the head coach at Washington-Wilkes. And was there for 2 years, really good 2 years, being able to run my own program, county AD too, in charge of a lot of stuff. And we had a little bit of success there. And then the good Lord called me back to come back to Northside 19 as the OC to make it an easy transition to take over in 2020 as the head coach. And I owe everything to Coach Kinsler for making that a smooth transition, and had the opportunity to run Northside for 3 years. And then some things fell into place in different spots and different things. And, left after the 2022 season and came to Jones County as the system athletic director. And that's been a real good move. And, moving to a central office job and taking over the AD role of high school, both middle schools, working for a great superintendent, Chip Lundy. And so I've had a career that's taken me a lot of places, and had a lot of responsibilities, and coached with a lot of great guys. And I've been very fortunate for the 28 years I've been in this to coach at some good places, and God's been good to me.
That's awesome. I know I've had Rod on, and y'all were at Perry together.
Yep.
And he wouldn't tell all the stories. But
Rod Harris is something within himself, and I listen to him coining the check on me of calling me Big Check. And to this day, if I call Rod to this day, that's what he refers to me as Big Check. So we get a good laugh out of that.
Well, he was telling stories about how y'all I don't think you were necessarily the ringleader. I think it was more him and Sam Saeed, Coach Saeed, about how they were good at like digital. Oh, did they like make funny like
Coach
photoshopping people into stuff?
People think they Photoshop now. This is in 6, 7, and 8. They would Photoshop you. They would make PowerPoints, and then they would email them out to the faculty. The things that happened at Perry in 6, 7, and 8, if we did it today, we would not last a week. And me and Rod talk about that all the time. I mean, we made Christmas cards of people and their family and inserted our faces in the cards and gave them out to people. And I mean, Rod Harris is ruthless. I mean, if he can find your weak spot, he will pounce on it, and he just made coaching with him so much fun because you never knew what was going to go on. And
y'all put Big Man in somebody's family photo, didn't y'all?
Yeah, do what?
Y'all put Big Man in somebody's family photo.
We put Big Man in somebody's photo. Yes, look, we put a lot of people, a lot of family photos. And you know, some of them were like, man, I cannot believe we just did this. And but it was so fun. And back then, you know, working with a group of guys and you could laugh with and you could play jokes on and nobody got their feelings hurt. And, you know, you were just like, okay, I'll get you the next one.
Right.
And, so it was always something going on, and everybody got big laughs out of it. And when I say it just wasn't the coaching staff. I mean, Rod Harris would make something and send it to the whole faculty. And you were like, oh my goodness, we're going to get fired. I mean, at that time, we got our hands on an official like letter from the board office that had the superintendent's name on it, and we would put it in people's mailboxes. We'd write up things that they were getting put in their personal file, and it would be signed from the superintendent. We would just stick it in their mailbox and wouldn't tell them no different. I mean, it was some crazy stuff, and but just had a good time, man.
Well, I mean, that's one, you know, you build camaraderie that way.
Oh, no doubt. And, you know, and I look back and at Perry is where I met Rod, and then Kelvin McDavis was coaching with us. Sam Saeed was coaching with us. And then, you know, you go 7, 8 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and we're all at Northside together. You know, we were just, you know, a family, and that started at Perry with a core group of us that were together, and we were forcing just to coach so long and build. You know, you've been around us. I mean, we're more family than we were colleagues,
right?
You know, because that's just the guys we had, and building those connections, and just had a good time together, man.
And those make the best staffs too. I mean, because you just look at each other and you're like, all right, this is what we got to do. Everybody's kind of nods like, here's the practice plan. Well, we don't really need one. We kind of know what we're doing.
Well, and you say that, and me and Rod talk about, you know, those staffs that you were on at Northside, and that, you know, we were all there. Some of us had coached together so long, you know, we knew what everybody was thinking. Everybody knew the plan. You didn't have to beat, you know, the bushes and just reinvent things. Everybody knew their role. And just, you know, they're just good guys to coach with. And in good times, whether you won or lost, you just came to work. You had a good time. You know, you did your job. You tried to do the best by the kids, and, you know, and you laughed the whole time through it. And that's what made fun coaching with those guys.
And I mean, you worked with Coach Kinsler, but all of that initially started from Coach Nix. No
doubt. My coaching hero. I mean, there is, when he took a chance on me as a 23-year-old, did not know me from anybody. And, you know, like I said, I talked to him on a Friday and I started on a Monday. And he taught me so much, you know, just taught us how to run a program, how to treat people. And, you know, Coach Nix's favorite word he'd always say is just be consistent. He would just talk about it doesn't matter what you do, just be consistent. And that's what he taught us all. And there's so many great coaches that came off those staffs, and, you know, there's head coaches off his tree, you know, all over, and we're all still pretty tight together. And, you know, on one staff that I was on, I mean, I held my second year at Northside. We did a 7-on-7 and called it to Coach Nix. There were 6 guys that we all coached together at Northside that were head coaches at the time. And so we all came back, and, did a 7-on-7 deal and had Coach Nix there and all, and you could just see him just beaming with pride watching his guys all lead programs and all, because he taught us so much.
And Northside meant so much to him.
Oh, look, when when I took over at Northside, I felt unworthy. In a 35-year span, there'd been 3 head coaches there, and to sit there in the same seat that he had, and then Coach Kinsler had, and Coach Nix had built it to what it was, and he loved that place. And even though he's been retired since 2009, there wasn't a week that didn't go by that as the OC and then as the head coach that Coach Nix didn't come by or call or make sure things were good, make sure things were going right. And then a couple of years ago when things kind of went sideways with some things, I leaned on Coach Nix for a lot of advice. And before I resigned at Northside, I had to get his blessing. I was not going to step away without Coach Nix's blessing, because I knew how important it was to him. And, and he gave me some great advice at those times. There were some hard times in my coaching career. And, when you work your whole life for to get a chance to lead a program like that, and some things go sideways, and Coach Nix was just very gracious to me and just, gave me some very sound advice and put me at ease when I was able to step away, because I didn't want to let him down, because
Right.
I knew how much that place meant to him. But Coach Nix always cared more about us as people. And you'll hear stories about working for Coach Nix were hard. He was tough on you, but, man, did he love on you. And that's what he taught us. He was demanding on us at the school coaching, but, man, when we walked away, he took care of us personally, our wives, those guys that had kids. He just treated you like family. And I don't say that lightly. He really did. And to this day, I just talked to him Monday. He's going to call. He's going to check on me. He's going to check on my wife. He's going to do those things because he really, really was a man that cared about you more as a person than a coach. And that's why his legacy is so big.
Well, he's a legend, and there's so few. It's what makes legends legends, and there's so few that have gotten to work for said legends. And just having a chance to get to work for guys like that.
Correct. I remember me and you sitting in my office, and you got on that whiteboard, and I think we put 5 names on the board, and the trees that came off those 5 guys, I think we covered about 75% of the state with somebody off that coaching tree.
Yeah, pretty much.
From just 5 legends.
And it's just amazing. I remember when I was at Americus, and, Coach Alton Shell, the stadium was named after him. And, he was still living, and he would come to practice, and he would just lean against the field house and watch. And even those kids in 2010, hey, that's Mr. Coach Alton Shell.
Yep.
That's Mr. Coach. That's what they called him, Mr. Coach Alton Shell. They knew who he was, and their dads didn't even play for him, but they knew who he was.
And I think those days, which is sad, I think those days are gone of having guys just stay at a place for that many years to build that kind of legacy. And just because things have changed in our profession, somebody to stay somewhere for 25 years is going to be far and few between. But me and you have talked about it to have, I was 23 years old to hit the coaching lottery to go work for a guy like that at a place like Northside to just start my career with no ties at Northside. I didn't know a soul there, but my high school head coach happened to be a position coach then at that time. And so that's why I felt so fortunate. At the time, you don't see that, but you look back and you're like, man, you were blessed to have that opportunity because it puts you on a different path in your career just because you're working for those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are coaches that, way better coaches than me, and they've never had the opportunity to coach for a guy like that or at certain places to propel their career. So I always said, you can't take for granted when God blesses you to be in a place like that. You better take full opportunity of it because there are coaches that would trade spots with you in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely. The 2 years I got to spend there, I would tell people would ask me, what's it like? And I'm like, yeah, it ain't nothing. I don't even know how to explain it. And I'm like, well, first of all, you can't wear red. You can't have red. I said, when we get together, the wives don't even have red Solo cups. I was like, right. Talisha's done told all the wives, if you find blue Solo cups, get them, especially if they're Navy. So Rachel would buy them up whenever she saw them. And, and then I remember Sam saying when he won the county teacher of the year and they brought him a red car, for winning.
Yep.
And everybody was like, man, you better tell them to take it back and bring you
You better get another color. I kid you not. And that was the real deal. And that's what I learned there. He taught us about school pride. And when I say school pride and people say they have it, it was like none other of when we came to Warner Robins, Coach Nix is showing us houses. I knew Warner Robins was bigger than what he was showing us. He said, in his old Southern drawl, you ain't going to live south of Watson. I mean, that wasn't our school zone. That was the other school zone.
Right.
And that's the only houses we saw. And, and they were dead serious about that.
Between him and we just lost Mr. Dyson, but between those two, I mean, they built Northside into what it became.
Yep. And, Mr. Dyson, we did just lose him about a month ago. And what a special man, too. And the bond that they taught us what a head football coach and a principal's relationship is supposed to be like. And that's what you strived for. That's what I strived for. And because I saw them two work hand in hand, side by side for so many years. And that's what made it special because everybody was on the same page. And but the stuff about the no red, and y'all may not believe it out there in podcast land, but there's something to it. I mean, I've seen them send teachers home. I've seen them send students home. And it was just a great place to work at that time, and just an awesome, experience for me to have worked, and then to actually take over and follow in his footsteps is, was kind of mind blowing sometimes to me.
Well, that was cool. And then now you've moved on into administration.
Don't call it administration. Well, no, I ain't no administrator.
Athletic administration.
Don't label me with them.
well, I mean, I was, I've got a buddy that's going to come on. I was supposed to get him last night, but I had a migraine. I couldn't shake it. So we've been trying to hook up. And Seth Rogers, he's the principal at Temple now. And, Seth was a coach. Yep. And I put in his bio that's going to go out that, Seth's one of the few old ball coaches that's actually an administrator now. And there just ain't many.
You're dead set right there. And I'm fortunate right now, why Jones has been such a good move for me is our superintendent, Chip Lundy, old ball coach, coached football at Baldwin, basketball, coached soccer. I mean, he's still a coach. And, and so that makes my job a whole lot easier working for a superintendent that understands athletics and how important they are. And then our principal now, Dennis Woolfolk, working with him. He's an old ball coach, basketball, football coach, but they're few and far to find, and I think that's why we're dealing with some issues we're dealing with in school and all is because coaches are not in admin anymore. And everybody would say, Chad, why do you say that? Why do y'all say, these are non-coaches would say, Chad, why do you say coaches make the great admin? Da, da, da. And I used to, number one, they're used to dealing with pressure. They'll make a call and move on. And two, they know how to build relationships, and that relationships are key to it all, that it's not always the black and white data, what a report says. Leading people is, more than just numbers and data, and, getting people to do what you want them to do and getting people to follow you is an art. And that's what coaches do every single day is get people to follow them. And so I think that's what made coaches such great administrators. And there are some great administrators that have not been coaches. There are some out there. But you, as well as I know, administration used to be full of ex-coaches.
Yeah, they're used to getting cussed out by parents too, so there's that.
Right. Look, I had a guy ask me one time, he said, Coach, what do you know about pressure? He asked me saying it's pressure. I said, you ever call 3rd and 8 in the Northside Warner Robins game with 12,000 people looking at you? And he just kind of looked at me, he said, I guess you're right. I said, that's pressure, man. Sitting here doing some of this stuff, and academic world, that ain't pressure.
No, no, no. Because the bottom line is they don't. I don't know. It's just different.
It is different, and it's and I think a lot of people have those conversations, and just coaches are used to fast pace, make a decision, move on.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Right, correct, and you go on to the next thing.
And if it don't work, we're just going. Okay, that didn't work. Let's do something else. Don't.
Yep.
Don't.
Before I took this job, Chris, I called Chris Parker. Chris Parker extremely well.
Yeah.
And I would call a bunch of people and said, hey, how was it when you stepped away from the game to go into a different role? Because I was very concerned about that. I mean, I love to compete. I love to be around the kids. And Chris Parker told me something, and he was dead on it. He said, Chad, you're going to miss the scoreboard. And I'm like, the scoreboard? I mean, I didn't coach for the scoreboard. I said, explain that to me. He said, Chad, in your role, now that you get into the other side, there's no scoreboard. There's no quarters. The clock's not going to run out. A decision's not really pertinent. The play clock ain't running. You used to working on the calendar. You used to working, okay, spring practice is coming. The next thing's coming. The scoreboard's running. You got to make a decision, get ready for the next game, and go. And at admin, there pretty much ain't a clock on you. Decisions take longer than probably should. Nobody's pressing down on you. There's a less sense of urgency on some things than what you're used to. And I was like, okay, man, I've talked to him a few times since. I said, you were dead on it. Dead on it. He said, I tried to tell you.
That's interesting.
When you go into admin, there's no clock running. So a decision really can be put off a day, 2 days, a month. Clock's not going to run out. And I didn't understand it when he told me. But after a year and, 4 or 5 months I've been doing this now, he's dead on it. And, that's just different parts of, the career we're in.
Yeah, and it's changed so much since when we got started. Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, it's just...
Ain't enough room on this podcast to start on those.
I mean, it's just the people have changed. The people that are getting into business, why they're getting into business. The kids ain't changed. They're still the same.
Kids have not changed. The kids have not changed. You just said it right there. The reason of why we're doing this has changed.
Yes.
When me and you got into it, and I think if you talk to anybody, around 50 years old, we all say the same thing. We got in it. We loved ball. We just wanted to coach ball. We just wanted to be around kids. We never asked what the salary was. We really didn't care. We just latched on with somebody, and whatever the head coach or your boss told you to do, you said, yes, sir, and you tried to do it better than how he asked you to do it.
Correct.
It was that simple, and you just rocked on. And, you knew who your players were. You knew who they were. Coaches didn't bounce around, and so there was a consistency part of it. And now it changes from, month to month. And,
people looking for the next biggest thing.
Right. And, or the first thing, everybody wants to know money. Everybody wants to do this, can you give me a title? I'll tell you a funny story on titles. I mean, you've been around there. Everybody wants a title. Not until the last 7, 8 years ago, you ain't heard of no passing game title, no run game title. You can name it. Coach Nick's got tired of that one year. Some people, we hired some new coaches that come in. They want to know what they could be. And I mean, in the football program, he didn't tell any of us. You open up the football program, he had a hydration coordinator. He had a nutrition coordinator. He had a video coordinator. He gave every coach on the staff a coordinator title. And he didn't tell none of us. That thing was printed in the program, and I think everybody got the message. Don't ever ask him for another title again. And that was the end of that.
Yeah, that do it. I'm going to tick the old man off.
Yes. So, but good times.
I don't understand. I mean, me and you talked about it all the time because that was my job on Fridays was to keep you not.
I was just fixing to say, Coach Landon, you got to tell podcast world what your job for me on game day was.
Keep you occupied on anything other than Friday and go get the U-Haul truck.
Go get the U-Haul truck, which got you out of class for the rest of the day because you would just blame me. Well, Coach Alligood told me I had
Coach Alligood said I got to go get a U-Haul trailer at 11:30. I wouldn't tell him what time. I just and nobody argued. They're like, "Oh, yeah, it's game day."
Coach Lamb would come into my office, and I would some of the best times I had as a head coach. Just sit there, laugh, talk about nonsense. I mean, there's no telling what topic we'd get off of.
Could be Bigfoot.
It could be Bigfoot. I mean, it could be something, just off the wall. But we talked about anything but what was happening that night. Until
Miss Talisha came, and then you were like, all right, you got to go.
Yep. My wife would come by and, it'd be time to go.
Yep. And it was cool because I would be like, I'd go sit in another room and then I'd hear, Lambo, come here. Come in there and you go, hey, what was that guy's name that, and then we'd sit there and try to think about it. And then that would turn into a whatever.
Some of the best memories I have.
Remember that? Remember that guy that, remember that guy that did this or did that?
And we would come up with the off the wall, who was coaching where, what they were doing, where they're at now, who they coached with.
Yeah, our favorite logos, who had the best mascot, logos,
all of it.
Worst uniforms. How in the world did Northside end up looking like Auburn?
Correct. Y'all,
and you told me the story. It was awesome.
Northside's colors is not navy blue and orange. Northside colors are royal blue and white. Coach Nick said we were going to be navy blue and orange way back when, and that's how it happened. Just as simple as that. So
that's not their official colors.
Not at all.
They look like that because he said so.
Because he said so. And now me and Mike, go back to my role at Jones County now and Coach Chastain, that's been a blessing to me too, is Coach Chastain being the head football coach. We coached together at Northside, and so we're very, very familiar with each other and know each other extremely well, coached against each other on numerous occasions. And I always remind him there's never been a time in the history of football in Georgia high school that the Northside head football coach, ex-head football coach, and the Warner Robins ex-head football coach have worked together. And I remind him that I'm his boss through that. But he's allowed me, as much as I do miss the game of football, Mike's been really, really good to me and let me scratch my itch and do some things with him. And, do some things at practice and evaluate some things and get on Huddle and watch video and all. So that has been good. And, me and Mike will sit there and swap Coach Nick stories and all of that. So we've got a couple of Northside graduates on the staff that we both coached. And so, that's been a good for me because you know as well as I do, when you've done something for 28 years and all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore, it just ain't that simple to just walk away from it. And so that's been a good, a scratch the itch type deal for me in football.
Well, when you have such a big athletic program as y'all have at Jones County, how does one guy be everywhere?
Well, I give credit with the job when Mr. Lundy, superintendent, called me and we talked about this job. That was his number one thing. He wanted this guy to be the county AD and only deal with athletics, period. No admin duties, not just the high school AD, but run the county. And so that has helped this job tremendously. And I do have an AD at each middle school. And so, I'm at the middle school some, but not as much, just making sure some things are going because there are two really good ADs there that handle both those middle school programs. And but there are a lot of moving parts in an athletic department these days. All the teams we have going on, just the financing part of it, dealing with all booster clubs and that. And so what I've learned from this job is I had to suck at either the football coach or the AD role at Northside and Washington-Wilkes because I don't know how I did them both. And I think that was in a lot of the mode is as big as it's gotten now. I think you got to have one guy that's dedicated to nothing but athletics. He can't be dealing with discipline. He can't be dealing with any of that because, you got a lot of coaches you're dealing with and building relationships with coaches and mentoring coaches and all of that takes time. And now with everything the GHSA has you doing as an AD, I mean, it's a full-time job within itself. And so when Jones County gives us all the resources, gives me all the resources, and, you know, the anything we need that's going to make us better in athletics, we can get it. And so that's been fun, you know, doing that and just seeing a whole program try to get better each day.
So you can basically help facilitate everyone else. Since you have, since the middle schools have athletic directors, you have one at high school, and then you just kind of, if they need something, you can get them whatever they need.
I can make sure they get it, mentor them. We can spend, you know, we've made some major strides facility-wise because this has freed me up. I mean, we got about $6 million worth of improvements, roughly a little over 5 that's going to take place, you know, by Christmas. We started them last year and all. And so that's really helped in my role to say, okay, not from Jones, came here, just kind of reevaluated some things, met with the superintendent. Hey, these are some things we need to do. And, you know, you present to the board, you say, you know, athletic wise, this is what's going on. So this position and them, the way they're restructured, allowed the AD to be involved in that. It allowed the AD to say, hey, these are some things I see we need to do. And you can't do that if you're tied down to an admin role, if you're coaching a sport and all that. It doesn't give you the freedom to do that. So that's been a neat part of this job.
Well, that's cool. What do you got 2 more years left, right?
Yeah. Yep. And 2, I can make a decision, you know, and that's always nice to make a decision.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, I know you got a boat. I know you like the beach. Are you going to find a job at the beach, or are you going?
There's water in my future. And when I do decide to step away, Lamb, I'm not going to be like all these guys. You know, they retire in May, and then on June the 11th, they're working with somebody else. No. Alligood's going to spend him at least a year on his boat. And, you know, I was fortunate, been a long year plan. My wife and I, we bought a big old boat we keep in St. Simons. And I want everybody out there do a little homework on this podcast. In about 3 years, you're going to be able to find the Alligoods on the Great American Loop. It's a little deal. You take the Intercoastal Waterway all the way up the East Coast, New York, Hudson River, cut across the Erie Canal. You come into Great Lakes, you drop in Chicago and come down to Mississippi, split off into Midwestern rivers, bunch of side trips you can take, and come out in Mobile and wrap around Florida, down through the Keys, shoot over to the Bahamas, come back up Florida, and end back up in St. Simons where we'll start. And that's called the Great American Loop. Take you a little over a year to do it. So if you want to find me in about 3 to 4 years, you're going to have a boat, satellite phone, or something. But Alligood will not retire and jump into a coaching job.
I don't blame you. No, I tell people all the time, I got 5 left, and if it hits on a Tuesday in March at 9:00, y'all better find somebody to cover 2nd, 3rd, and 4th block, because I'm out.
Look, I used to tell you when mine hit, if I was coaching, and they're going to say, why is Chad in flip-flops tonight? Why is there a boat behind his truck? Because that meant retirement was hitting at halftime. Somebody was taking the second half. I mean.
Yeah. And some of these young coaches look at you crazy when you say that. And you're like, no, I don't think y'all understand. We watched. I mean, it goes back to what we said at the very beginning. We were raised by the old heads.
Yep.
We watched them do it forever. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, we enjoy it. And they were, it's almost like they didn't get to enjoy it.
And I talk about that a lot with my wife, and me and you have talked about that. You know, this game has been great to me. This profession has been great. I mean, it has afforded me and you both opportunities we couldn't have imagined. I mean, financially it's been good and a great living, but I want to be one of those guys. And one thing I've learned by not coaching football this past year is there is more to life.
Oh, absolutely.
Than just a game of football or just coaching. And that's what I want to go do, is experience some things that I haven't had the opportunity to do for 30 years, and go out there and see another way of life, experience some things with my wife, go, you know, travel and see. I've always been intrigued of all the different ways in this world you can make a living.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there are just worlds out there that we don't have any idea about. And so I've always been intrigued by that.
And they pay people to do it.
And they pay people to do it. Exactly.
You could probably get paid to take people around on that Great American Loop.
No doubt about it. And no doubt. And, I've learned so much, that whole thing has its own little society. We've met so many great people planning this and all that. And it just really let me know, you don't get but one shot at this life, and you better not have any regrets. If you got the opportunity to do some things, you better do them, because, we're not promised tomorrow. And one advice I would give to coaches is don't let a game take life away from you. And we know so many examples of that, of the game of football. People sold their soul to a game of football, and it is going to end for all of us, whether you want it to or not. What are you going to have left when the game is done? And I was bound and determined not to be one of those guys that had nothing left when the game was done and not enjoyed life and all. But, it's been a heck of a ride so far.
Yeah, it was eye-opening for me when I got over there with you guys and get over there to the golf course, and they're like, "Oh, you're a coach." Yeah. Chest poked out. They're like, "You coach at Georgia?" No. I coach at Northside. Oh, that's nice. They turn around and hit the ball down the middle of the game. They don't care. And I'm sitting there going, "Man, I'm at Northside Warner Robins." And they're like, "We don't care." I'm an orthopedic surgeon.
All the time.
They don't
been around
care.
my wife.
Oh, yeah.
My wife will shoot you straight. And she'll tell it like it is. And she used to remind me all the time, "Chad, nobody cares what y'all do. It's only the y'all that are wrapped up in it." She would say, Northside Warner Robins, like, "Yeah, there's 12,000 people over there, but there's 175,000 people in Houston County. So that means there's 150,000 people that don't care."
Absolutely.
I think sometimes as coaches, we take ourselves too serious and think the world revolves around us.
Oh, yeah. That first Friday night, you go out to eat and you're like, "Well, we ought to be able to get a good seat because everybody's at the ball game." No, you're waiting for an hour and a half, just like all the normal humans that go eat on Friday nights. And you don't realize it till you step away. And
that's right. You're so wrapped up in it, which is fine. I mean, that's your job. That's
what
your
we
passion.
do. Right.
But
it ain't all there is.
Right. That's right. That's not all there is. And I think sometimes as coaches, we got lost in that. We think, and we're not having brain surgery. We're not making life and death decisions. I said it today when I walked outside today. It's 80 degrees. I walked down there and watch Mike and them lift weights a little bit, and I'm like, "Man, they're paying us today. It is beautiful." Walking out here, and we're just at school with a bunch of kids, having a good time, trying to teach them a little bit, and but there are other jobs. They're making life and death decisions every moment. And,
absolutely. And then you hit me with your favorite phrase, or my favorite phrase that you say. Lamb.
You a fool.
Well, not that one.
But you are.
Well, that is true. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
And you would say that to me at least 3 times a week.
And I still say it to this. I think I said it about 5 times a day. It's like, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Why? What are we doing here? And I think that a lot of times when I look at what the business is getting to, and just fortunate that we still have, good people like you that are still in it, still leading, still mentoring, and still taking shots and chances on old dogs like me and young cats like some of these other people to pass the torch on like they did for us. And sure am glad that we finally got together at some point in our careers.
No doubt, man. I remember talking to you on the phone, talking to you about messages and all, and to finally meet the great man of constant sorrow, face to face, and then having a chance to hire you. And hey, y'all out there in podcast world, I watched this man work, and he demonstrated the magic of how he knows what he knows, and it is absolutely amazing, y'all. It is amazing. This guy knows everybody in every corner of the state of Georgia. If he don't know them, he knows somebody that does know them.
Well, you said I got all the T-shirts.
You do have all the T-shirts, I mean, you got 2 dresser fulls of T-shirts, so, but it was a joy to work with you, Coach. And, and that's what this business is about. And I try to tell everything. It is about relationships, how you treat people. And you don't treat people because you're trying to get something from them. You just treat them good because everybody's good somewhere inside of them.
And guys,
you just have to treat them good.
I had no inclination, no desire. I was not going to Northside to coach. I was going because I could get paid more at Northside to just teach than I was getting paid where I live to be the defensive coordinator and head baseball coach. So when the superintendent decided he was going in a hot different direction and told me, well, you're just going to teach middle school special ed and you ain't coaching nothing, I laughed at him. I said, okay. So I was like, I'll just go to Northside and teach special ed and make more money because Houston County pays more. And that's what I did. And then Coach Alligood calls and says, hey, man, I need a 9th grade offensive line coach. I was like, man,
overqualified 9th grade O-line coach in the history of it.
I was like, I've never done that before. Oh, you'll be fine. Man, I had the biggest time. That was that's one of the best jobs I've ever had. It wasn't just because I was at Northside. I loved coaching 9th grade OL. That was great.
Look, if I could go back and do it all over again, that's probably what I would do. If somebody said, Chad, if you could go back and coach, let me just go do somebody's 9th grade for them. Just teach them the game. Them kids don't know no different. Just teach them the game and have fun.
Oh, yeah. And I told people, I said, when you're at a Northside, when you're at a 6A, 5A, 7A program, and they have a 9th grade team, it annoys me beyond end, to no end, that these young coaches, I'm not going to be a 9th grade coach. You're not going to do what? Dude, they got 75 youngins on that 9th grade team. That's like a small single A team. Now, you're not, Coach Freeman got totally bent out of shape when I said, I'm not saying you can go beat a single A team. I'm saying logistically, we had our own locker room. We had our own practice field. We had our own buses. We had our own staff. You're essentially a 70-man, you're like a AA, single A high school football team.
I said that, when I got to Northside, that's what I was in charge of. The first 3 years I was there, I was the 9th grade head coach. Like you said, though, I had my own staff. I had 75, 80 players. It was. And I think those years there prepared me more than just about anything I did to take some next steps because I had to run the offense, the defense, the special teams. And, Coach Nix wasn't writing practice schedules out for us.
No.
We had our own little meetings. We had to get prepared to play on Thursday. And, me and you talked a lot about that. I mean, that was more valuable then to have great people on the 9th grade staff and have a great 9th grade head coach than it was to have any position coach at most ones we had because it was so important to the program to make sure the 9th grade program was ran correctly and you had people, kids were ready to go when they became sophomores. And me and you talked about that.
And these young coaches these days, they turn the noses
They would rather
down.
go be a varsity inside receiver coach and coach 3 guys for a team that never throws the football than go down and run the 9th grade program.
Yeah.
And I never understood that, and at such a young age, when you do that, you got to learn all 3 phases of the game. That is one thing in my coaching career that, I don't know if any guys do it anymore. I have coached every position on the field but the D-line.
Well, you have to coordinate the buses. You have to
the buses. You had to do eligibility for the 9th grade. You had to feed them. You had to do everything. Physicals.
Yeah.
All of it. And so, but I think in the day we talk about it's changing, people are pigeonhole themselves in, and I am just a receiver coach. No, you ain't. You a football coach and take a spot. And if you can coach, you can coach.
Yeah. Yeah, that tickles me when they well, apparently you ain't hungry.
Right.
Apparently what you are is not wanting a job is what you are. Coach, I just coach the left. I just coach wheel linebackers Only when we check stack. When we're in odd stack, I coach the left inside linebackers. Oh, is that so? Oh, okay. Yeah. I hope that works out for you.
Yes, sir.
And they will. I mean, it will. They'll figure it out, or they won't.
Yep.
I mean, one way or the other. It'll work out one way or the other, I hope, for them.
No doubt, man.
It always does. But I should appreciate you being on with us, Coach. I look forward to seeing what y'all keep crack-a-lacking up there in Jones County. Me and Captain Crazy and Miss Rachel will have to come ride on the boat at some point in time.
No doubt, man.
And tell Miss Talisha we said, hey. And my mama and them are talking about moving down here. I told her we knew just the lady to hook them up with.
No doubt about it. She can hook you up.
To hook them up with where they need to be looking. And
hey, and tell your wife to send me some grapes, rolling Kool-Aid, or whatever that stuff she used to bring to the house.
I'll do it.
Since y'all left.
I will absolutely do it. Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Coach.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.